are some things that we've been called as a group to do. Some of those things that we've been called to do is we've been called to love. Okay, we've been called to love each and every person. It doesn't matter if they're family, friends, total strangers. We've been called to love. We've been called to show compassion. We've been called to be the light of the world, be light for people, be light in the darkness. We've been called to be salt. Okay, we've been called for a lot of things. But the most important thing that we have been called to is we've been called to walk one-on-one in a relationship with Christ. Now here's the important thing to remember with this, okay? Even though we've been called for something, doesn't mean we have to respond to it. See, when God created us, He gave us something very unique. He gave everybody their own free will. He gave everybody the choice to make the decisions on their own. So when God calls you to do these certain things, you're not required to do it. You have the free will to not do it. But God wants you to do it. That's what we have been created to do, is to walk one-on-one with God, and walk alongside Him through all things. See, God called us all. And when God created us, He created us with a specific purpose. He created us to give us hope, to prosper us. He created us to give us a future. See, we have all been chosen to be warriors for Christ. We have been chosen to be warriors on His team, His army. But it doesn't mean we have to respond to that call. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So before we get too far into that, I just want to welcome you all again to Crossroads, especially on a Tuesday night. By show of hands, how many people work before or after Crossroads? Like a lot of people. I just want to say I completely understand where you're coming from. I've been at work all day today as well. For those of you who don't know, I know a couple of you I know from work, but I work at SunTrust Bank. And actually wasn't too bad of a day. I got to actually practice my Spanish today. We have this thing, I'm horrible with Spanish, so if you're Spanish, please teach me. Today's word that I learned is almuerzo, which is, I think, lunch. So I now know how to say lunch in Spanish. I thought it was just luncho. I thought you just put an O at the end of it, but I've learned that you don't just put an O at the end of the word, and that's not Spanish. Sometimes it works, but not always. But anyways, I'd like to welcome you all back. A couple weeks ago, we talked about being chosen. I hope since then that you all have had a great 2 weeks, that you all have been replenished with the Holy Spirit and are ready to worship tonight. Now, when we were here a couple weeks ago, like I said, we talked about being chosen. One of the things that we talked about was we talked about the fact that we all have a gift, or that we all have a special talent that God specifically gave to us. It could be a talent of singing. It could be acting, speaking. Some of you might be math whiz, so you know what? Your talent is math. Some of you might love science, so your talent is science. Some of you might have a talent to speak other languages, which I do not. But the gifts that we've been given, it's important to know that we weren't given them by accidents. God purposely gave us each the gifts that we have. See, we all have been called in different ways. When God created us all to be unique. One of the things that I did in the last couple weeks, my wife and I were able to get a vacation, so we went out to St. Pete Beach and enjoyed the blue seas before they turn brown or black or whatever it is. St. Pete's on the Gulf, and all the oil and whatnot, so we wanted to take advantage of that. And I was thinking while I was on the trip, God really did make us all unique. We all have our own fingerprints. We all have our own unique free will. But one of the things that was amazing to me is God really spoke to me about what it means when He says that we are unique. And the way He spoke to me was I was just walking up and down the shore. Susan decided that she wanted to make a sand castle, and I helped her for a little bit, but I also wanted to go seashell hunting. If you're ever on the Gulf Coast, they have tons of seashells. And so I was just sitting there, just sifting through the sands, looking at different seashells. It was amazing to me to see how unique and individual each and every one of those seashells were. But the thing that really fascinated me was the time that God took to create each and every one of these seashells. Now, there's millions upon millions of seashells out there. But each and every one of those, God took His time to create, made it unique, made it different in some way, shape, or form. And I was just thinking, wow, God took the time to make these seashells so different, so unique. It was cool to know that He does that with us as well. Every single person is unique, they're different, their talents, their abilities. It is all unique. But the thing that's important to remember is even though we have unique talents, we have unique gifts, we really were given those gifts for one purpose. And that purpose is to glorify God with those gifts and with those talents. So we know that God's called us. We know that God's given us these gifts, these abilities, these talents. Now the ball's on our court. The thing that's left for us to do is how are we going to respond to these gifts and these callings? What are we going to do with these gifts that God has given us? That is our response. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is how will we respond to what God has done for us. So, again, like I said, we've all been made different. We all have our own unique abilities, okay? It's up to us to discern how we use those gifts to fulfill God's purpose. See, a lot of people take these gifts that they have and they use them for me. What can I do to glorify me, to give me hope, to give me my own future? They don't realize that it's not our vision that we're trying to fulfill in life. It's God's vision for our lives that we need to fulfill. But you see, we live in a world where people take the talent that they've been given to sing. You turn on the radio, you can hear tons of talented musicians every day on the radio. But almost all the songs that you hear have some kind of raunchy lyric, have some kind of sexual theme. See, people are taking God's gift and using it to glorify themselves. You watch films, you see the same thing. Talented actors, talented performers. But what is it that they're acting out? Are they acting out things that are going to glorify Christ? Or are they acting out things that's going to glorify themselves and make them cooler to society, to people? Okay? So the thing we need to focus on, the thing to remember is, it's about the Lord, it's not about us. We need to focus on Him. So today we're going to talk about giving the Lord our true response. Now, it's important to remember there's two types of response that we can give the Lord. It's very simple. We can give Him the yes response, and we can give Him the no response. Now, before we dive into these two responses, as Jeremy was talking, we're going to talk a little bit about two figures in the Bible and how they responded to God's calling on their lives. But before we move into that, I'm very big on small groups. If you're here for the first time, welcome to Crossroads. So glad to see you. I see several new faces, which is really cool. One of the things I like to do is I love getting groups together and growing together spiritually, getting to know the people that you're worshiping with and fellowshipping with. So we do a thing called small groups. So what we do is we break into about a group of 3 or 4 people, girls with girls, guys with guys, and we discuss just one little topic for about 5-10 minutes. The topic that I'm going to talk about tonight is more or less sharing God's gift that He's given you with people around you. So I want you all to take a few minutes, break into groups about 3 or 4, and the question that I'm going to ask you all is this. What is the gift that God has given you, and how has God called you to use that gift? Now, if you don't know what that gift is, that's fine. This is a great opportunity to open up to people and say, you know what, I'm not sure what that gift is. We can pray for you so that God reveals that to you. But just take a few moments to share with your group what's some kind of talent, what's some kind of ability that God's given you, and how can you use that talent and ability to glorify Him. So take about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll get back to it. So